Okay, let's choose up. I'll take Jamal and Tutal. You can have Chubbs and Skippy. Let's go. My ball.
Okay. But you got skins.
Not a good negotiator? You don't have to be a good negotiator at McCarthy Chevrolet. McCarthy guarantees the lowest prices on a new Chevy or we'll pay you $10,000. We guarantee there's no need to shop anyplace else. McCarthy Chevrolet, I-35 and Santa Fe, Olathe.
I think we got Lloyd on the line right now. Merman, are you there?
Hey, boys, what's going on?
Oh, we're just hanging out. I'm surprised it was raining down at Springfield. I didn't think there was any chance of that happening. But
yeah, it been raining. It rained all day yesterday down there, and it rained all night, and it's still raining down there this morning. So I was actually on the phone with Ernie a while ago, and he said, I just got a text from Jerry. Said it's canceled. So so they're going to possibly, there's a possible reschedule for it, so people listening just kind of stay tuned and check the MLRA website or check Springfield Raceway's website or something, because there's a possibility of rescheduling. So,
well, that's now. Let me ask you, step back to Springfield. Were they calling for rain down there today as well?
Yeah, 60% chance. Yeah.
So I got to believe that it's a combination thing. That the chance of rain and what rain they probably received overnight and yesterday is probably the deciding factor. And listen, now that I've promoted some races, I will tell you, I don't care if a track promoter thinks he's going to lose $20,000 or $30,000. We can't expect them to do that and go ahead and run the race. If they know that nobody's going to show up because there's threatening weather all around and they're going to lose their ass, I don't have a problem with them canceling. Only problem I have when a promoter cancels is not canceling soon enough to where guys travel from a long distance to get there and they've already spent the fuel. But if you let them know early enough, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I can't expect a promoter to lose $20,000 or $30,000 just because, well, it's on the schedule. That's just part of it. No, that isn't just part of it. Because if that promoter loses $20,000 or $30,000 4 or 5 times, he might be out of business.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Scott. That just a good thing, that he had planned on possibly making a call around 10, but I guess since it's still actually raining down there right now, that he went ahead and pulled the plug on it. So we just hope we can get him and Harry can get together and get something rescheduled and get back down there, because I really like that track. Ever since a few years ago, Ronnie invited me down, and I actually came down and rained us out a couple times, and then I finally got to see some racing. And when they say the fast or the quick quarter, man, it's the quick quarter. It's a nice little track.
So you had a
I've
Lakeside
only been down there a couple times.
Yeah. So you had a Lakeside last night, Lloyd, and the current MLRA point leader was out there with a modified, finished 5th.
Finished 4th, wasn't it? I think he finished 4th, started 12th, and came up through there and finished 4th. I think John had a real good run. They were it's one of I believe it's one of Chase's backup cars that he was running. Kind of an older GRT. I think they were doing a little tune-up, and I believe they're getting ready to head up to Deer Creek up there for the fall jamboree with that car. But I tell you what, Kirk, last night that race, them races last night, Lakeside was like the Lakeside of old. I mean, tell you,
hammer down, was it?
Well, yeah, it was hammered down, but it was still some exciting racing. That B-Mod feature was just fantastic last night, and Mike Higley just drove his butt off to win that race, and that was just damn good. I enjoyed it last night. Just I went out there, no camera, no cart, just went out there just to kind of watch and talk with some people, enjoy some things, and man, it was great. I loved it out there last night.
Higley is quite the little stud in the B-Mods, isn't he?
I'm telling you, it was him and Newton and Brad Smith, and then there was another one up in there. I can't remember who it was, but these guys were, Newton and Higley were side by side on the white flag lap coming down the backstretch, and Higley just drove it in a little deeper than what Newton did, and come across. He actually almost didn't clear him. He kind of chopped across Newton a little bit, but they're all kind of teammates because they all run those Cheetah chassis and stuff, But I'll tell you
Higley runs a Cheetah.
Who does?
Higley runs a Cheetah chassis?
I think Higley's is. I think it is a Cheetah, isn't it? I thought it was. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think so.
No, I know Smith's is.
Yeah. Brad Smith's got one.
Yeah.
How did Brad Smith do up there with the sport mods at Boone? I didn't keep track of how our locals did up there. Do we know how he did? Because I know he went up there.
Did he go to Boone? I thought he went to the 10,000 win show up there they had up there, wherever it was at.
Fountain City, Wisconsin, up there. Yeah.
Oh, he did. How did he do up there then? That's the one I'm thinking.
I don't think Brad made it. I think he had some little mechanical issues that played havoc with him. But I thought Higley made that show. I didn't keep track of those results myself, so I wished I should have been. I mean, 10,000 win for a B-Mod show, that's a hell of a payout.
Yeah.
It's too much money. Too much
money. It is. It really is, yeah.
Just like down here this weekend, I think it's paid $5,000 to win for the B-Mods down here at Texas Motor Speedway. I think it's $10,000 for the A-Mods. Too much money. They're going to – well, they've already started to run the class, to be honest with you.
They have. Actually, they have, yeah. I talked to a couple guys there last night, and they're just like, man, it's just getting silly. These B-Mods have only been around, 4 years, 3 years, something like that, and they're already just way out of hand with it, and it's getting crazy.
Put a lot of money out there for them to win, and that's what you're going to get.
That was, by the way, Higley's 6th win at Lakeside and 14th overall this year. What a season he's had.
How about that? Way to go,
He's a wheel man, dude. He is so exciting to watch. I mean, I just like him and Brad Smith both. I mean, a lot of those guys out there got talent, but I just enjoy watching Mike and Brad run. Those guys both have talent. I remember being down at Valley a few weeks back, and probably about a month ago or so, and Brad went in the race down there, but him and Trevor Hunt had a hell of a battle going on in that race, and they ran side by side for several laps down there, and it's just those guys just thrill me. I mean, I love to go out and see good competition and clean competition like that. And those guys are all friends, and it's just they all congratulate each other when each other wins and stuff. It's just a neat setting, I mean, it's those guys got some hell of a talent, and I just enjoy watching them.
Yeah.
They put on
3M
put on
driver
good
on,
entertainment.
Yeah,
3M driver on the chat room said that Higley got a Razor chassis.
Oh, he got a Razor. Oh, that's right, he does. Yep, he's correct. Yep,
and
he got a Razor chassis.
And I stand corrected. 7th win at Lakeside last night, according to Junior's story this morning. But he's got 14 total. I do know that.
Yeah.
Now that's a combination. He's ran at several different tracks this year too. It's about time for him to get a good sponsor and hopefully get him up to an A-Mod. That's where he wants to be.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he does.
All the top B-Mod drivers wish they had the budget to run an A-Mod, I would think.
I'll tell you what, as you were pointing out, Lloyd, the move he made on Nick Newton coming off the fourth turn where he knew he had to kind of slide up to stay out in front, and he was able to keep that car in front coming down to the checkered flag. That was pretty awesome driving by Higley last night.
It absolutely was. I was standing right there in turn 4, and I watched him come across the bottom there and just he came down in the bottom in 3 and come right up across, and I'm like, oh, is he going to make it? Oh, man, he made it by about a foot. And actually Newton probably, if he wanted to, could have probably tapped him and said, hey, I'm here, buddy. But he was
kind of parked it on his bumper, Lloyd? Would you call it parking it on his bumper?
Kind of parked it on the bumper. But you know what? You got to do what you got to do. You're going for the win. It's the last lap. I mean, coming off of turn 4, as long as nobody got hurt, no equipment got tore up or anything, I don't see anything wrong with it. But it was just some fantastic driving.
They were side by side for more than half that lap, that last white flag lap.
Right. Yeah. Well, they ran side by side. They ran. Well, let's see. Well, I guess it was Smith and Brad Smith and Higley both ran side by side there a couple times on the restarts there, and Brad would take second away from Higley, then Higley'd get it back, and then Kirk, you remember who the other car was? There was another white car in there. Was it a 12 car? I can't remember who the other white car was.
Chad Feather.
Chad Feather. Okay, he was Chad Feather.
Chad Feathers.
He was driving the number 11.
Wow, that's cool.
That 11 16-year-old car. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if I remember, 16, I think he came out of the go-kart range.
Yeah, 16 raced down there.
Hey, Lloyd, let me ask you this while we have you on the line. Did you see the poll question we put up on RacinBoys?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Should there be a minimum age of 16 to drive and compete with a V8 powered chassis? Right now, out of the 513 people who have voted, 64% of them said yes, there should be a minimum age, and 35%, just under 36%, say no. What do you think, Lloyd?
I honestly think it depends on how mature the young man is.
How do you do that, though? How do you tell? Let me ask you this:
You really can't. I know what you're
where
getting ready to
you're
ask me,
going.
and you really can't. You can't say, hey, you're 15 and you've got a good head on your shoulders and you can run, but you're 15, you don't have a good head and you can't run.
Right.
You really can't do that. But honestly, I mean, I think I voted yes on that poll question that the driver should be at least 16, to handle a big V8 car and stuff. But there again, I mean, I've seen some 13-year-olds, that's got hell of a talent.
We know they're out there.
Yeah,
there's no doubt they're out there. But the thing is that we have to protect the people that don't have that talent, that are not exceptional 13-year-old race car drivers. We have to protect them from. Let's face it, we have to protect them from their parents. Because so many parents are so quick to say, my kid has got the great. How many times? I can't even count on all my fingers and toes combined. I can't count how many times that somebody said, my kid is going to be good. He's real, man.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
killing them down there at the go-kart tracks. And they think that they're going to be the next Jeff Gordon, the next Kyle Busch, the next Denny Hamlin, whatever.
Right.
They think that they have that kind of talent because they're blind with love. And they see their kid. They might be successful in the go-kart ranks, but it might be because they're not racing against anybody either. You know what I mean? And or if a guy has one good season where he wins 2 or 3 races, and my kid's got NASCAR talent, we're going to move him up right now. We have to protect those young kids.
Running the go-kart to me doesn't mean anything because it's like night and day from a go-kart to a big V8 car. There's just no comparison. You
even
can
a 600 Mini. Even if it was a 600 Outlaw Mini or a multi or a quarter midget, a kid can have some success at that level. It doesn't mean they're a good race car driver.
That's right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Yep, I wouldn't mind them
sometimes
seeing,
parents are blind to that.
Start a little subcompact class for some of them kids. They come out of the go-kart rank and they want to get into a bigger car and kind of get a feel of a little bit more speed and bigger track and stuff. Put them in a subcompact class or something. And don't they run subcompact classes up at Atchison?
Yeah, but see, I don't even think that. I'm not even sure I want to see them. I think they should run, if they want to run anything, run what kids run nowadays. Cage karts, you know me. Go-karts, I always
There's
worry.
A lot of people think those cage karts are dangerous, though. They're a little top-heavy and they're dangerous. So,
are they more dangerous than not having a roll cage over you?
Well, in some cases, I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and that's why John don't run them down there at Fodovich. That's why he's never brought them in down there at Thunder Lake, because they're a little top-heavy and they're a little more dangerous and stuff.
I wouldn't let my kid run without a cage. I wouldn't let my kid run without a cage. That's just me. But I will say, we've been given a little extra love on RacinBoys TV and here with John O'Neill down there promoting Thunder Lake now. And John has always helped us out quite a bit, so we want to return the favor to him and help him promote some of his events. And they're having great races down there, and John O'Neill's doing a great job. But the fact is that kids that race in go-karts that are successful at that level doesn't mean that they're going to be successful or they're ready for a full-blown modified sprint car or what have you. And I'm not so sure they're even ready for front-wheel drive compact cars, because what do they really – I hate those cars, first of all. It's a known fact that I can't stand those cars. And the reason is because they rut up tracks. You can't slide them around. They're not really that interesting to watch the race to me. When I talk about enduro type cars,
it's experience for the kids. They got a 4-cylinder under the hood, a lot more power than what them go karts are. They're a full body car, so they can get a little more experience through a subcompact
I guess
class like that.
Here's my problem with those cars. More than anything, I walked down in the pits when they started racing them at I-70 Speedway. I went, oh my God,
they do look a little dangerous, don't they?
Somebody's going to die in one of these cars. They're just, these are amateur car builders that are building these cars in their backyard. They don't have full frames under them. They didn't have front hoops under them. Some of them look like you needed a frickin' tetanus shot to get in.
Right. I've seen it. You're exactly right. I've seen the same thing. Absolutely.
Make sure we
maybe somebody ought to look about bringing in the bandoleros or something like that, so these kids, because it is a pretty good jump. You get out of a go-kart, and if you don't want to go open-wheel racing, where are you going to go? You really have no choice other than a subcompact car or a B-modified. There's kind of a gap right there there's a void there that probably needs to be filled with something.
If you want to be a sprint car driver, the place to go is an Outlaw winged 600 Mini. That's where you got to go.
Yeah.
And then if you want, you can move up to the Midwest Lightning Sprints with a power to weight ratio with those 1200s in those cars.
Mm-hmm.
That will get you prepared for it, and then make your step to the 305. Then you work your way up to the 360. You know,
you can do that. You can do that with open wheel series like that. But if you don't want to get into sprints or open wheels like that, where are you going to go? The kids have no choice. You know, so
well, you know what? Then they have to.
That needs to be filled there. And I don't know. You know, this day and age is probably not the time to try it because of the way the economy is. But you know, it'd be worth looking into. You know, when the economy gets back on the right track and people get jobs back, start making money and stuff, it might be worth looking into to where, you know, these kids can have you know, like an entry level type. You know, get out of go kart and go into an entry level type class or something.
How about this, Lloyd? How about just run a go-kart till you're 16?
Well, you can. There's plenty of them that do it.
That's what I'm saying.
Plenty of them that do it. But, you know, like you said earlier, Scott, some of these parents, I mean, they think their kid's the next Jeff Gordon or Denny Hamlin or, you know, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, whatever.
You know, I want to make one thing clear why you say that, Lloyd. Let's don't act like motorsports parents are any different than any parent of any kind of sport. You know, when my kid was growing up, I wanted her to be a basketball player, and I pushed her to try to be a basketball player because she was 6 foot tall. I got a private lessons over there at Jeff Boschee. I mean, I did everything I could to try to make her a good basketball player, but her heart wasn't in it.
Right.
She was doing it for me. We know that happens at these go-kart tracks too. These kids might not be really. They might not be ready or willing to or want to go to that level, but their dads talk them into it, and sometimes peer pressure from their parents keeps them from saying, "I don't want to do that, Dad."
That's true. That's very true.
You know, an argument could be made that the parents know best about how to raise their children, and if Russell Hunt feels that his son can handle it, shouldn't he be the one to decide that?
No, he shouldn't.
The insurance company, the insurance companies, you would think would be the ones that would help regulate this more than anything else.
The promoters need to be the ones to stick together and keep it the way it has been throughout the history of our sport. For the most part, most promoters have never allowed drivers under the age of 16.
But promoters are in the business of selling tickets and make money, and if they think Trevor Hunt's going to sell him some tickets to his racetrack, he's going to allow him in.
So what's that make the promoters a sellout then?
No, it makes him in it for the profit.
It makes him a sellout.
It makes him in it to try to make as much money as he can and sell his business. He wants to make as much money as he can. There are promoters that say, hey, if Russell Hunt feels that his son can handle it, then I defer to him. He knows his son best.
You know what? Then they're compromising the health of a young driver.
You can't blame the promoters because, you know, if the promoters allow it, there's going to be parents out there and kids out there that's going to want to do it. You know, no matter what, they're going to want to do it. So I can't blame the promoters. You know, that's a business for them, and they're going to try to make every buck they can make.
That's a sellout.
How is that a sellout? They're in it. They're
because
in it
they're
to make
putting
money.
the safety of a young child in a race car that shouldn't be out there, and they're putting the money in their pocket first. That's selling out.
But Scott, it's the parents and the kids. If they absolutely want to go that direction, want to do it, how are you going to
wait
stop
till
it?
they're
If the promoter's
16?
going to allow them to run, you can't stop it.
Yes, you can. Put it in your rules. You can't race till you're 16. It's pretty simple.
A promoter can do
stop
that,
it.
but a promoter's not going to do that. If they're going to run a class that's going to allow 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kids run, then, you know, it's good business for them because they know there's a market for it. There's kids and there's parents out there that want to do it. There's a market for it, so they're going to adapt to that market, and they're going to profit from it. But it's a business. They need to
set the standards for all promoters. Don't allow it.
Yeah, but where does this mandate and dictate come from? Who enforces this and who requires this over the?
What are you
promoters
talking about?
What
do you mean? The promoter dictates. He puts it in his rules. He looks at the driver's birth certificate when they register to drive. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, but it's his racetrack.
Did it forever.
Dennis Shroud out here to Valley Speedway. It's his racetrack. If he wants to allow Trevor Hunt to race out here, that's his business. There's no law that says that Trevor Hunt is not allowed to race out here, is there?
I agree
There
with you,
can
Kirk.
be a law. There could be a law. It's called the rules.
No, a rule and a law is different. But
Yeah, but that's up to
No.
Dennis Rapp. That's up-
If you
there could be a
hold
rule.
on a
There
second.
could be a
Hold
rule,
on.
but Scott, the thing is, promoters won't do it. Promoters-
Hold on. Now, you
Okay,
know
go
and
ahead.
I know that the promoter has the final say who he races at his track.
Well, sure, but
And no government body going to dictate who can race at your track or not.
yeah, but that's his
If I
business.
put it in my rules that you have to be 16, that is the law.
Yeah.
That is the rule.
Mark doesn't allow it either.
Well,
That's right, you're right. Mark does it.
But that's up to Mark Olson. That's his racetrack, and he has every right.
But
not to allow
what
that.
I'm saying is that people that cave into the peer pressure of these young kids' parents to let them race sometimes are not putting the best interests of the child in their.
Well, that's not his
the best
child.
interest of the child.
That's not Dennis Shroud's child.
You've
That's
got to
Russell
treat
Hunt's
them like
child.
it. You've got to
Yeah.
treat it like it.
That's up to Russell Hunt to determine whether or
No,
not
it isn't. It's up to the promoter.
Trevor can race. That's his decision.
I don't know. It's a slippery slope. I don't know. It's a slippery slope. But personally, I just think there's a void there that needs to be filled to where these kids
Let me-
don't have to make such a big jump.
Let me ask you this: how many Trevor Hunts is there out there?
Not many. He's one of a kind.
My
He's pretty
point
special.
exactly. That's my point. My point is that those kids with the talent of Trevor Hunt are rare.
Well,
Very rare.
I don't know where it's any of our business or anybody's business to raise people's kids. If they're
Really?
underage and the parent thinks he can handle it, then that you got to go with that.
Okay,
right.
so let me ask you this. Let's just make a non-racing comparison. Oh, my kid, he's mature. I think he can handle drinking beer at 15.
Oh no, that's apples and oranges.
Yeah, but it's against the law to drink beer. There's a law in place where you can't do that. There is no no federal
and
governmental
if there's a law at the
that-
racetrack. Hold on. If there's a rule at the racetrack, that's the law.
You're right. If there is a rule at the racetrack,
There's no
That's
governmental.
right.
There's no governmental
But there's-
agency that
These
mandates you have to be
promoters need to
16 to
stick
race.
together. These promoters need to stick together and not cave in
Well, you know
to
that's
allowing young kids
That's-
under the age of 16.
You know that. Come on, let's get in the real world.
Promoters-
You know that's never going to
promoters
happen.
sticking together, that ain't never going to happen.
Hold on.
You know, that's part of the reason why the B-mods have got out of hand already. There's 15
Sure.
sets of rules for B-mods out there because
Yep.
promoters would not stick together
No.
and
all
say,
right,
hey,
all
this is
right,
what we're
all
gonna
right.
run.
Okay.
Promoters
okay,
working
okay.
together, that's a pipe dream.
All
That
right,
is
let
a
me
pipe
ask you.
dream.
When did you start seeing young drivers, with the exception of Jeff Gordon? When have you seen, when was the period when drivers under the age of 16 were starting to, they allowed them to run full-size race cars? When I was growing up, you never saw it. Never. I don't even remember it in the 90s.
Well, you didn't. You had to be a certain age just to get into the pits back in the old
Right.
days.
That's
Yeah, in the old
my
days you did.
point. That's my point. Promoters stuck together back then doing it. They all had the
Promoters need to-
same rule of 16 or older.
Promoters
I'm not talking
operate
about
a
getting
business.
together. I'm not talking. Listen, I'm not talking about the promoters
That-
getting
that-
together on the rules
but
because
that-
we
well,
know that that's not going to happen. We know that's not going to happen. But when it comes to something simple like allowing young kids to race at your racetrack, promoters were together on that for years.
Yeah, but
Why the change?
Promo-
Why are we such in a rush? See, that's the problem with this frickin' society that we live in now. We're on the fast pace to everything. You know what I mean?
We are.
We got to have
I
drive-through.
totally agree with that, Scott.
We got to have
Totally
drive-through windows. We got to have pizza delivery. Jimmy John's. I'm there as soon as I hang up the phone. Everybody says, "Ooh, got to do it now, fast, fast, fast." Why do we have to
And
bring
that
our kids up
you
so
better
fast?
strike while the iron's hot. You know, it may get away from you. You know, it's just like Trevor Hunt. You know, we better. You know,
Trevor Hunt's going to be a good race car driver at 16.
Think how good
Yeah,
he'll be.
I
at,
agree.
Think how good he'll be at 18. Man, that's.
Well,
we
listen,
got to get it now.
NASCAR's got it figured out. They don't even allow drivers to race in the top 3 series until
Yep.
they're 18, not 16.
Mm-hmm.
But that's NASCAR. That's
but
one
when do they
sanctioning
start
body.
looking, Scott? When do they start looking?
Huh?
When does NASCAR start looking? They start looking when they're 13 and 14 nowadays. It's crazy. I mean, it's gotten
Teams
you know,
start looking. Development, but you know what? Development
Yeah.
programs are far and few in between. They don't have them like they used to. When I had my ARCA team in 2003, 4, 5, 6, those years, development
Mm-hmm.
teams were the thing. They're not now.
So, yeah,
if you go watch an ARCA race, you go watch the ARCA series right now, all it is a bunch of rich kids with some money. That's what it is. And that's the only way you're going to get in a development team. It used to be you could be a part of a development team on your talent alone. Now you have to bring money. So those development teams aren't what they used to be even 10 years ago.
NASCAR as a sanctioning body can cover a lot of bases by mandating what they want. They have the right to do that, but you're talking about individual tracks and promoters and sanctioning bodies. There is no way you're going to get all those people to agree on something like that.
Kirk, they did forever.
Yeah, but that
was the rule forever.
They didn't conspire for that from day one. They just did it. They didn't work together and say, "Hey,
that's the way it was.
We'll have the rule if you have it." They didn't talk about it. It was just the way it was.
And what happened, Kirk? What happened?
One person.
What happened was one track caved in, and so that put pressure on the other track.
That's what happened.
You know. That's the whole thing.
So unless you
come
down,
I don't think it's so much pressure. I think one track promoter does it and sees how the class develops, and that's good money in the promoter's pocket. I'm not going to say it's a sellout because it's promoters are in it for the business. They're in it for the money, and I don't blame them. They got to make a profit. I don't blame them for making a profit.
Well,
one track does it, and of course the other promoters see it and say, "Hey, well, you know what? I can capitalize on this and make a little extra money out of it."
Let me tell you something. If you're sitting in Dennis Shrout's shoes or Ron Whitworth down at Humboldt Speedway, and you're looking at how many tickets that kid sells, that's what you're thinking about. You're thinking about, I'm going to trust the father to determine whether or not his son is safe or not. That's not my rule. If Russell Hunt thinks it's safe for his son to be out there, that's good for me. That's the way
absolutely
they look at it.
Selling out. That's 100% selling out right
I'm
there.
here to put as many people in the stands as possible to put on a show.
I don't care about the driver's health. It's all about the money in my pocket. That's what you're saying right there.
As long as he abides by all the other things.
Hold on. Scott, when you promote a race, don't you worry about the money you're going to put in your pocket?
I won't promote a race that allow a 16-year-old to race in a full-size car.
I'm not saying that, but you're degrading the promoters here for trying to make a buck because they got a business to run. Well, when you're promoting, you're trying to make a buck too. I don't blame you for that. I don't blame the promoters for that.
I'm gonna just tell you this. Here's all you got to look at, and I hate to go down this road, but this is the case. 15-year-old Jordan Creason sitting in a hospital. He's dealing with some very tough health issues right now, and hopefully he'll make a full recovery. But the fact is, he's a 15-year-old in a full-blown sprint car.
Well,
and on a track that he probably shouldn't have been on, to be honest with you. Big, fast, half-mile flat track that's very demanding, and you need to have experience when you race on that racetrack.
Isn't that up to his parents to determine that?
Hold on a second, Kirk. Let me finish. Do I want to sit here and say, you know what? I made about $5,000 because I let this kid come down here and race? I would pay $5,000 to not see Jordan Creason in the situation that he's in right now. You see? I'm not putting my money in my pocket first. I want to keep young kids that have talent. And listen, Jordan Creason has talent. Let's don't be mistaken here. But the fact is, his body hadn't matured enough to withstand a violent wreck like it had. They couldn't even find a scratch on his frickin' helmet because he's too young. His body hasn't developed.
Isn't that up to his parents to determine whether or not he should be out on that track?
No, it's not. We have to protect these children from their parents. We have to protect them from their parents.
Who are you to do that?
You sound like the government now, Scott.
Well, hey, listen, call it what you want, Lloyd. Call it what you want. But when bodies aren't fully matured and they have a wreck and they get severe brain damage from it because their brain was shaking around because they're not fully developed, I guess that's okay. Well, if that happens once in a while, it's okay. I put some money in my pocket. What?
Well,
are you kidding me?
But
really?
I got to agree with Kirk. It's up to the parents. If the parents...
No, it isn't.
Is
it up to the parent? Hey, Lloyd, is it up to the
parents putting their kids in football? I mean, these kids go out there and bang heads in football all the time and get head injuries. I mean,
so if your kid is 13 years old,
should they stop?
Lloyd,
should they stop Little League football series? I mean,
listen, Lloyd. Here's the thing: if your kid can drive a car at the age of 13 on the street, and you see him, you've driven him around the streets, you let him drive around the neighborhoods, you know he can drive, right? Mm-hmm. Well, can you go up to the license bureau and get a license and tell him, hey, you know what? I know that the law is 16, but hold on. Let me finish, Lloyd. Here's the thing. Do you go up there and say, you know, my kid's an exceptional driver, we will go ahead and get his license? Can you? No.
I just said,
well,
no,
if the track
can't. There's laws to prevent that.
Yeah, as there should be rules at racetrack. The rules at the racetrack.
They can. But, you can't dictate to promoters how to run their facility.
The only way that
the promoters should take it upon themselves. They shouldn't have to be told what to do. The promoters should take it upon themselves to do the right thing. The
only way it can be dictated is if the insurance companies mandated such that premiums
that's not true,
would be
Kirk.
higher, or we wouldn't cover you
Kirk.
That's the only way this would ever.
Nobody controls the rules but the promoter. If the promoter writes it in the rules, that is the rule. The insurance company doesn't have to dictate it. You don't have to leave it up to the driver's parents to make up their mind. You make up your mind that you're going to allow 16-year-olds to race or not. That's the rule.
They dictated as far as a lot of the safety features and a lot of other things that happen at the racetrack, and as long as they abide by all the other safety features that the other drivers do, that unless there's some kind of a law mandated by government, you're never going to see everybody agree on that. It's just not going to happen.
And you don't want that to happen. It doesn't matter. You do not want the government in our sport.
Do people agree on the rules? I mean, when you talk about rules, just rules in general.
Yeah, but it's what I'm trying.
Everybody, Kirk, let me finish my question. All right, let me finish. When people write rules, isn't there always somebody that disagrees with the rules? Carburetor, this or that, whatever it is, whatever the rule is, right? Well, if you write in the rules that a driver has to be 16, not everybody's going to agree with it, but that's the rule.
Name me.
I agree with you.
I agree with that, but name me
to do that.
Name me two tracks that have exactly the same rules.
That's not
all the way down the line.
God, that's not my point. My
Scott,
point
I understand your point, but as a promoter, if they want to do it, I don't see nothing really wrong with them doing it. You know, it's a business; they can make some money at it.
Go over there and look at Jordan Creason. Go over and visit Jordan Creason.
Is my child really ready for this? If he's not ready, we're going to keep him in this go-kart.
Go over and visit Jordan Creason in the hospital.
If he's mature enough, we're going to make this move.
Go visit Jordan Creason in the hospital and come back and tell me if you think they should be driving.
Parents are ultimately responsible for their children,
and we have to protect the children from their own parents sometimes.
Why is that our business? That's not my business. That's not your business. That's not your track operator's business.
No, it is my business.
Raise their children.
If you're racing on my racetrack, it is my business.
Well, then you can institute
because that is my business.
You have every right to institute that rule, Scott. What I'm trying to say is you have every right to institute that rule at your racetrack. I'm fine with that, but don't try to tell some other track operator how to do his job. That's not your job.
Or don't tell the parents how to do their job.
Run your racetrack, raise your children, but don't try to tell anybody else how to run their track or raise their children. That's the point.
I'm not trying to tell them how to raise their children. I'm trying to prevent their children from getting hurt in a race car at my racetrack.
Well, then then you have every right, like Mark Olson does, and I have no problem with that. Not
Mark
allowing
Olson
kids
gets
under
it.
16. I have no problem with tracks having that rule. What the problem that I have with what you're saying? Don't try to tell me how to run my racetrack or raise my children. That's all I'm trying to say.
Kirk, people have to do it every day in society to protect children from their parents for one way or another, whatever way you want to look at it. And I'm not talking about just child abuse. I'm talking about people. We have to stand up as a country and sometimes protect children from parents or adults for making bad decisions for them, whatever that decision is. And this is one of those decisions that need to be controlled by the racetracks.
The only way that happens, Scott, is some kind of a law from government.
No, it
That's
isn't.
the only way that ever happens.
No, it isn't.
Or Kirk, or like Scott is trying to point out, the promoters can put a rule in. They can't, but if they're not going to, they're not going to. So ultimately, if the track promoters aren't going to set a rule that says you've got to be 16, then it does fall back on the parents. And we can't step in as an outsider and say, no, we can't let, your kid's not going to run because, he's not of age yet. We can't,
There's one.
Just because you sit back and say, I don't believe he should be racing until he's 16, you can't sit back and dictate that. That's no different than...
Sure you can.
No, you can as a promoter by saying
Who
yes
can
to the
stop
rule,
me as a
but
promoter?
they're not going to do that. You can't just outright say, we're not going to let your kid run because we feel he's going to be in danger. You can't do that.
Why can't you, Lloyd?
We're going to protect your kids from you, or protect. Yeah, we can't do that.
Why can't you do that?
There's no different. There's no different than going up and saying, "Hey, sir, your kid's sitting here eating a bag of Twinkies here. That's fattening. We can't let him do that." It's no different. You can't.
No, it's not the same, Lloyd. That's not the same. You're not dealing with a piece of machinery that's running over 100 mile an hour. It's totally different.
Well, if you
don't have to wear safety gear and a Hans device and a helmet to eat a piece of ice cream or a Twinkie.
Food affects your health too. You can have other issues because of food. I mean,
I get that.
You just cannot dictate to people
I can dictate if it's my racetrack.
Sure,
I can dictate
and I have
if
no
it's my
problem with that.
racetrack.
If you had a racetrack, Scott, and you had that rule, I would have no issue with that whatsoever. Fine.
It should be a rule across the board.
Yeah, but unless it's a mandated governmental law of some sort, you can't enforce it. You can't enforce it. It's just why even go?
I can enforce it. Hold on a sec. I can enforce it if it's at my racetrack.
Sure, you can, and that's I have no problem.
Well, the government ain't going to tell me any different.
Then do it.
We fully agree with that, Scott. We completely agree with that.
And you know what? Russell Hunt has no problem with that either. When I talk to him, he
I'm
says
not trying to bring down Trevor Hunt.
If tracks have rules with that, he's fine with that.
I'm not trying to bring down Trevor Hunt. I'm saying he's an exception to the rule. He's a talented driver. But when I saw that, what's that, Jake Griffin? Is that what his name was? That raced up there?
Yep.
Griffin. He raced up there on a speedway at the age of 13 in an ASA car. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you kidding me? Really? Did you see that kid? He looked like he was 12 or 9. His body hadn't developed enough to take an impact at a big racetrack like that. I guess people just are okay with, you know what? I don't care if their body's developed or not. If their parents want them to go out there and get hurt, that's their business. That's stupid.
You said
it's
it
an
right
absolute
there.
asinine
It's the
way to
parents'
think about
decision.
it. You know what? And that is an asinine decision if a kid isn't prepared or ready and they're not developed. I'm just sorry. That's just how I feel.